want me up to you.
Sorry?
You don't want me up to you. Yeah, no. You don't want me up.
No, just the rest. I will call you and Anna to make comments.
Si puedes como en esta silla, te gustaría una silla más bajita por la falda. ¿Segura? ¿This here or here?
You can sit here. It's okay, otherwise we can give you
Sé
another.
que te puede dar otra silla si quieres. A ver, prueba. Sube. No. Sí, ok.
Okay, so you guys share this one.
Ok. Siéntate, a ver, para ver.
Okay, so you can see. Take that one. I take this one. You can sit there next to Diana. Where are you? You can sit here. And then anyway, you guys are gonna pass on the mic. And
Hi, how are you? You are from Wildlife Works? Yes. I met.
later, right? I will call you guys later once we are done with the panel.
Okay.
Then I will ask a question to Anna and Ecosphere, and then I will come to you and asking. So we have been discussing about integrity. Tell us. You
Tell us what it
probable
is.
member. Yeah. What? What is it? Hello, hello. Okay, we are missing one more speaker, one panel. Okay, we're still missing one panelist. Excellent. All right, I need my glasses. Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you here in person and here virtually. This is the last session in this pavilion, and today is Solutions Day, and we are talking about solutions. So I think it's the best way to close our journey at COP27. Let's talk about solutions, but not in theory, but really in practice. So this is going to be a deep dive, an immersion in actually 4 solutions that the NCSA has collected, 4 out of the 14. We have NCS lighthouses that the NCS Alliance has developed in the past few months. These lighthouses have been developed to create trust, to help businesses that purchase carbon credits in the NCS type to understand what they are. You know, we talk about high quality, integrity, nature, people. It's very difficult to capture, to understand that if you're sitting in a corporate room. So what we decided to do is to collect stories and to have real testimonials from these projects. So we are so lucky today to have 4 of these 14 lighthouses represented. The program for today is that we are going to ask the 4 representatives to speak about their experience, to tell you what is a high quality NCS, what it is from a carbon integrity, but also what did these projects did for them in terms of, you know, biodiversity gains and contribution to the local community. Then we are going to have a quick chat with a couple of the solution providers, the program developers, and hopefully a little bit of an exchange with all of you. And to conclude, we are going to have some feedback from the ICVCM and a business representative from the NCS Alliance. By the way, what is the NCS Alliance? It's a coalition bringing together corporates, NGOs, and solution providers in the space of the voluntary carbon market. And this coalition that now counts more than 55 organizations is dedicated to promote demand for high quality natural climate solutions carbon credits. So it's really about catalyzing demand. Now, without further ado, I'm going to ask our colleagues to speak. But just remember, we are going to have this session in this format for 1 hour, and then we are going to have a reception. So if you have questions, you want to learn more about these lighthouses, you're going to have an opportunity to talk to them in the next hour. So please stay on, because it's going to be a real great, you know, exchange that you can have with them. So we are going to start with, hold on, put my glasses on. We are going to start with Diana Mori, Shipibo Konibo indigenous leader, and who has worked very closely with IDER for years on the implementation of Ni Caniti project in Peru. And we are also going to have Mariol Di Sanchez, head of project management IDER in Peru, to present. So they're going to share the presentation. And so over to you, speaking about Ni Caniti in Peru. And I'll manage the slides for you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I am Mariol Di Sanchez. I am associate of IDER, which is a Peruvian NGO, and we promote forest conservation. We have more than 35 years of life developing this kind of initiatives. Yes, I'm going to talk about Ni Caniti project. Ni Caniti is an initiative that builds on a very strong multi-stakeholder partnership. So IDER, the NGO, we partner with 7 indigenous communities in the Peruvian Amazon with the common objective of conserving more than 100,000 hectares of forest, and also, of course, for supporting indigenous peoples for improving their life qualities. Also, our initiative includes a RED Plus project, but as I mentioned before, the purpose and the origin of this this idea of including Red Plus as a financial mechanism was because of the proposal, or came because of this holistic approach that indigenous peoples have about forest conservation. And in this effort joins Ecosphere Plus, which is our partner for the carbon markets. And also our financial partners are Alcilia, Climate Fund, and International Cooperation, USAID. So as you can see, different stakeholders coming, of course, the communities, the international cooperation and private sector, civil society together under this common objective. And the project is located in the central part of the Peruvian Amazon, in Ucayali region. And in this area, the main threat to the forest is land invasions, land grabbing because of migratory agriculture, and indigenous peoples are very vulnerable to this. And also the lack of access to finance. So through Red Plus, we found an opportunity for them to access to the funds they require for implementing a lot of activities that go beyond sustainable use of forests. They are strengthening their governance, they are fighting for land tenure security, and they are also implementing economic activities under a sustainable approach. And the next one, please. Well, and of course, as I mentioned, the core and the center of this project is with indigenous communities. And I think at this moment, maybe I will hand over to Diana, because I'm sure you all would like to listen to her directly about the impacts and how this project has been implementing. I will translate to Diana. Thank you. Cuéntales, yo te voy a traducir.
Yo soy Diana, de la Amazonía. Soy lideresa, aparte también soy promotora fuerte en temas de sostenibilidad de nuestros bosques que tenemos en Perú. He venido a contar de 7 experiencias de trabajo de conservación de bosque en Perú.
She's Diana Mori, she's an indigenous leader, she's part of this project, and she's here to tell you about the experiences in 7 communities that she represents.
Vendíamos madera en pie y no sabíamos cuánto era el valor agregado de nuestros recursos que nos iban a dar. La presencia de AIDER nos ha apoyado a fortalecer nuestra cultura, nuestro conocimiento de manejo de bosque, dándonos asistencia técnica y tecnología, y cómo íbamos a hacer la gobernanza y el cuidado de nuestros bosques. Esto es lo que hemos aprendido mutuamente. No solo hemos aprendido tecnología, sino nosotros también hemos enseñado nuestros conocimientos.
So she's sharing that some years ago they didn't know the value, the economic value of their forest. So they used to sell their resources, the timber, at a very low price, as an example. And when AIDER and this initiative came, they learned how to value the economic value of these forests. The AIDER provided technical assistance, training, and she was saying that it has been a mutual learning. We have learned together based on the traditional knowledge of the communities.
Nos ha ayudado también en capacitación a nuestros manejadores de bosque y los que van a cuidar el bosque. Hemos trabajado con las mujeres en la parte de artesanía y con la juventud también. Así es que el 2005 hemos obtenido hemos sido en mi país, los indígenas, que hemos tenido la certificación forestal voluntario y obteniendo el sello verde.
This project engaged men who are in the surveillance committees. This initiative engaged also women through handcraft business support, also work with youth. And she was sharing that one of the achievements of this was in 2005 the first FSC voluntary certification of forests in our country, in Peru, in her community, Callería.
Hemos también visibilizado la potencialidad de los recursos que nos puede generar el bosque, ya sea en ventas de nuestro bosque, pero con valor agregado, no vender en pie, sino ya vender en valor agregado. Es así que hemos vendido materiales educativos al mismo Estado y ahora estamos haciendo en alianzas estratégicas, hemos podido llegar hasta este momento en ese proceso. No ha sido fácil, pero sin embargo es un proceso porque el ser humano no capta rápido. ¿Por qué? Porque tenía que romper culturas estructurales en la comunidad, pero hemos pensado, básicamente las mujeres, los hombres no han pensado mucho en Callería porque nosotros como mujeres hemos luchado y yo por eso estoy acá presente para decir cosas que se puede hacer en el mundo, convencida de esto porque a mí me ha pasado y esto es lo que vengo a contar.
I'm so happy that there are some Spanish speakers here to capture everything. I will do my best. She was saying that also from this experience and this capacity building, they are now trading their products with added value. She made an example that regional government bought some timber desks for schools as part of a public purchase initiative, and they felt so proud about it. And also she was saying that it was not easy at all, a lot of challenges, they have learned a lot in this process. And she also said that particularly women, because men in her community, Callería, were like in another, thinking differently, and women were the ones pushing for this proposal.
No solamente hemos obtenido el cambio en nuestra mente con la tecnología, sino también hemos visto que tenemos más pescado a la comparación de otras comunidades que no están en el bosque y ahora nosotros podemos compartir con reciprocidad los recursos que tenemos del bosque. Entonces, viendo ese manejo que hemos hecho, hay comunidades que se suman a este esfuerzo, pero para sumarse a este esfuerzo hay que tener cambio de acciones con nuestras acciones mismos, con la mentalidad. Si tenemos que romper culturas estructurales muy duras, tenemos que romperlo para construir juntos una nueva estrategia de vida, un nuevo planteamiento de buen vivir.
Yeah, and she was saying that if it's necessary to break some structures, some paradigms, we have to do that, and that they are open to that. She said that they learned a lot, they changed their mindsets. If it's necessary to adapt, so we should do that. And she also said that they are seeing the impacts now compared to other communities. For example, her community has more fish and forests and trees than the neighbors. And what else?
Bueno, ahí también nosotros no solamente hemos hecho que el técnico haga sus cosas, sino que también nosotros enseñamos dónde vamos a sembrar nuestras semillas, nuestras aguas, porque no solamente estamos nosotros los humanos, están también todo el ecosistema, todo un ser vivo está en el ecosistema, ¿no? Entonces eso es lo que tenemos que escuchar. No solamente el humano es él, sino tenemos que escucharnos entre los seres vivos que habitamos en este planeta Tierra. Y todos hablan, todos tienen vida y todos nos hablan, solo que uno no escucha ni mira.
She was saying that the forests, the ecosystems are human beings and we need to listen to them. There's not only people there or trees, there are spirits, there are a lot of things, of elements, and we need to learn to listen because they are talking to us and sometimes we are not listening. She also said that he's ready to share this experience with other communities in solidarity, in reciprocity. Yes, a summary. Thank you.
So, Diana, gracias muchas. And this is amazing to have this testimonial. And as I said, you have a chance to speak to her and to other guests later. But again, these solutions are about people and nature, and climate mitigation outcomes are the are the outcomes of what people and nature do together. So this is also how we are wanting to transform the paradigm on how we talk about natural climate solutions. So let's move to the. Sorry. So we have now our colleagues from Kasigao, Red Project Kenya. Wangi Gitiyu, could you please give us an overview again, 7 minutes, 8 minutes to kind of give us, it's definitely not enough to tell the story, but just an initial taste of it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Julia. Hi everyone. My name is Mwangi Gidiru. I'm based in Kenya, working for Wildlife Works. Wildlife Works is a for-profit conservation organization. So it's not an NGO, it's a business that was formed because of the notion that wildlife has to work for the people in order for it to survive. Our founder saw the interaction between the communities and the wildlife, and saw the conflict, and realized that wildlife has to be seen as valuable for people for it to survive. And so we formed this company to bring market-based solutions to conservation. And started implementing projects before carbon. So Wildlife Works was more about wildlife and people, and carbon came as a finance mechanism to help drive this agenda. And where we started to test this idea was in Kenya, in the southeastern part of Kenya, where we have lands that are managed by local communities as group ranches. So they are collectivities of people that are able to own pieces of land in Kenya. Our project in Kenya is about 200,000 hectares. We started in 2010. We are dual validated by VCS and CCB. And so we've been selling credits. We generate about 1.5 to 1.8 million credits every year. So we've issued close to 18 million credits this far. Our projects are locally owned, so the ranches here are owned by collectivities of people, but there are people living around them, and they are also sources of the threat that are affecting the ranches. So we work with 6 sub-districts in Kenya, and that comprises about 100,000 people around the project area. So there's no one living inside the project area, people are living outside the project area. Can I go to the next one? Next slide. Just to give you a flavor of the area, it's a dryland forest, which is Acacia comifera forest. It's almost a complete biome that is in between 2 national parks. So we are like a corridor for elephants and other broad-ranging wildlife in Kenya. Let me go next. And just to give you an indication of the threat that we are working in, if you look at my right is how deforestation starts. So you have a few people producing charcoal, taking out some high valuable trees, and then they create some space, and somebody comes and makes a small farm, and eventually you get the deforestation happening. So this is the kind of the thing we were trying to fight, right from the charcoal production to the complete loss of the dryland forest. And so when we started in Kenya, Red Plus in 2010 was kind of unheard of, and there was no government or national mechanism at the time. And so we were working with landowners and thinking, how can we engage them? So we build in conservation easements, these are 30-year projects in which they provided the carbon rights to Wildlife Works, but retained all the other rights to their farms. And so we negotiated a benefit sharing agreement, which at the first was about a third. The landowners get a third, the project developer and project development gets a third, but then the rest of the community, because they are part of the drivers of deforestation, also get part of the money. And at the start, the landowners were not very happy with this, because they were saying these communities are not owning the land. But because of the nature of the Red Plus project, we got them to appreciate the importance of having the community members who are not landowners as part of the benefit sharing plan. But this third, we realized quickly that the way we were presenting it and our idea of what is fair is not immediately clear. We had a pre-purchase of our first credits, but then we didn't have ready buyers for the other credits following year. So we started struggling, and the markets went down in 2014, 2013. And so we realized we needed to renegotiate some elements of the benefit sharing and also benefit distribution model. So the landowners was contractual, so we couldn't renegotiate that. But the way we did our benefit sharing mechanism allowed us to have a revenue share portion, a project development portion, and a profit share portion. So the project needed to make profit for us to make money. So that we streamlined the process fairly well. And so all the profits that come after we give the landowners their money and after we do the project are shared between the project developer and the community. And local communities, they have formed their own local organs. We established a trust. As I said, we are for profit, so all the money would be taxed if it came through us. So we established a trust. So their money comes in untaxed, and they have their own carbon committees and community-based organizations that determine how the money is spent and the distribution mechanisms for the money. So that's all very well self-determined now. And they do a wide range of activities. I'll just give you a small flavor of them. This is an eco-charcoal project because charcoal production was one important driver of deforestation. We started this project to produce charcoal using finger-sized branches, and these trees are accustomed to browsing by elephants and giraffes, so they grow back. So you don't cut down the tree, you just cut down small twigs and branches. Next slide, please. We also have, as I said, it's a wildlife corridor, so there's a lot of elephants passing through. There's a lot of conflict, so we have water projects in the ranches to keep the elephants and the other wildlife in the ranch. But also have water projects like this raw catchment where the communities then can have access to water, which improves the agriculture. So a big cause of lack of agriculture there is because of lack of water. So that's an agriculture and water project. Next slide, please. But then all the money that is channeled through the trust has really transformed the community in the number of projects that we've so far implemented more than 250 projects. These are water projects, more than 100 school projects. We've taken about close to 30,000 students now through secondary education. The bursary program is slightly bigger than the county now, which makes it a big employer as well. We employ 400 people in our project. So all these projects, all these project activities are managed by the communities themselves through that self-determined mechanism. So just to wrap up, I think what the things we've learned that businesses can take away are first that we are very focused on the communities. All our work has to revolve around communities and wildlife. We don't take the carbon rights away. We take the right to manage and sell the carbon on behalf of the communities. We strive to ensure that 60 to 70% of all the revenue that is generated remains in country, and at least 50% of that is channeled to the local communities themselves. And increasingly now with the new NDC commitment, we are aligning more with governments to make sure that the voluntary market can be seen as an important contributor to the conditional elements of the NDCs. So we create a space for all these players, communities through focus on them, government either through policy or revenue generation, as you shall hear from the DRC. In Kenya, the government was not a landowner, so they couldn't take part in that. And also the private sector, because this is a space where private sector can engage and not usually with the government. So I'd just like to leave it there, and as I said, we'll talk more.
Thank you very much, Monkey. This was very useful to hear also the whole, benefit and revenue sharing and the mechanisms. I'm sure there are a lot of things that we can learn, and definitely I will follow up next week with questions for, for our work. Now, Jean-Robert from DRC is going to talk about Mine Dombe project, and I'll be your slide controller.
Thank
Over
you
to
very
you.
much. My name is Jean-Robert Bwangoy. I am a project manager for Wildlife Works in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and also country director. we are managing a project in the Lake Maindombe area, which is about 300,000 hectares, and there are more than 100,000 people living inside of the project area. It's mainly semi-deciduous forest and swamp forest. So we took this out of a logging company. This is the area where we are in, just west of the Lake Maindombe in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's also part of one of the most important sites of Ramsar Convention. So in fact, I started this project in 2009 and tried to find how to monetize carbon credit, because we tried to find a donor for a project in Democratic Republic of Congo, but we didn't. So then we found Mike Koncheski, who was doing the project in Kenya. So we asked Mike if he could join us in this project. So basically what we did is, as you can see in the project, we have an agreement with the government where we give 25% of offset money to the community for their development, and then we share the benefits with the government 50% after the community have received their share. So the community money is used for infrastructure building, improving agriculture, and all the activities, so health and other activities. So this is so the most important challenge, as you will see in the next slide, is slash and burn agriculture. So the most important activity in the Maindombe is slash and burn agriculture, which is really less productive, and which is with the expansion, it's only destroying the forest. So as you can see here, this is the way they do slash and burn agriculture in the area. And when they start cutting here, and next time you cannot produce because the soil gets less fertile, and then you have to go to a different place, and then to a different place, and that's how the forest is getting destroyed. So when we got to the project area, actually we didn't, so the biodiversity got depleted. So and we started the project with local community, and in fact, after a number of years, we got biodiversity back, and we are now protecting elephants, as you will see. So part of the project money is we use it for schools. And when we got there, there was almost no school in the project area. We have built 18 schools in this area. And now, in most of the country, teachers don't get paid. So parents had a hard time to find 25 cents per month to pay for their kids. So so what we are doing now is that with this money, we have 342 teachers in our pay list, so that school can be free. So now school is absolutely free for primary and secondary education in the area, and we also provide a mobile clinic, because we're not able to build clinic everywhere in the area at the same time. So we provide mobile clinic to help community with their health problem. And this is the first clinic we have built. So the problem in the Maindombe, next, the problem in the Maindombe is this guy, cassava. So cassava production is made out of low production material. What we do is we try to do agricultural intensification, and we bring high yield cassava material so that they can produce. Usually they only produce 2 cassava, but here we are able to produce, I guess, 12 or 15. Just so we increase 10 times the production of cassava, so they don't have to do slash and burn agriculture. They don't have to expand agriculture beyond the secondary forest or the already degraded land. We also provide them with fish ponds, fish farming, because the Lake Maindombe has been depleted due to overfishing. They use mosquito net to fish in the lake. So there is no more fish in the lake. We did a study, eDNA study in the lake, and then we found that there is no more fish stock in the lake. So we are doing this to provide local community with a way of getting more protein. And as a result of what we are providing to community and the partnership with them, we got this, biodiversity back. As you see, bonobos, the closest animal to human, now playing in the rivers because they can enjoy the peace that we brought in the area. Also, when we got there, we did ask the Missouri Botanical Garden to do a baseline. There was no elephant, but now we have more than 100 elephants in the area. So we also now are beyond paying more than 300 teachers. We have 400 employees in this small area. We have almost at least four employees in each village. So, this is all I have to share with you today for the Maindombe Red Project.
Well, JR, it's not really all, little. Thank you so much. This is really rich in terms of... Thank you very much. So we have one more story to tell, and then we are going to have some reflections from the audience. But again, really, each of you is giving us so much today in terms of, and I feel bad because I'm asking you to do this in 7 minutes, which is definitely, I'm really unfair on that. But imagine this is just a trailer of an amazing movie of so much richness. So over to you, again, only 7 minutes.
That's okay.
Francis from the Northern Rangeland Trust in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. This project is the world's first landscape level grassland soil improvement project, and its credits are based on the amount of carbon its soil improvement practices remove from the atmosphere using a methodology that was verified by FERA. It's also the first validated methodology to work with pastoral communities who use land sources communally. The project is being implemented, is implementing rangeland and grassland management practices with 14 pastoral communities in northern parts of Kenya. These practices are not only good at creating healthier herds, but also does secure carbon in grassland and the savannas. The ecosystem services can be measured using carbon credits, creating income for local communities, enhancing conservation efforts, including protection of 4 endangered wildlife species in that region. It's again done in northern parts of Kenya in 4 of our counties. And the rangeland covers about 19 million hectares of grassland and savanna. This is the largest soil carbon project in the world to date. So far, it has removed or sold about 3 million carbon in the market. And in terms of impact, the rangeland and grazing management practices in these conservancies have already removed over 3 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere and generated revenues for each of the 14 participating pastoral communities. Each community is using the income to fund its own priorities, including education, water and sanitation, as well as access to bursaries and scholarship for their children. The project has achieved triple gold certification from climate, community, and biodiversity standards for exceeding the most stringent requirements and audits, spreading project benefits to the local communities, as well as enhancing climate benefits to climate change, as well as biodiversity conservation in the area. The project finally aims to remove about 50 million tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere over 30 years of existence. In doing so, it will not only create a sustainable long-term income for these communities, but it also improve soil and pasture in these rangelands in terms of soil quality and pasture quality, ensure drought resilience, adaptation to all other impacts of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, with this, I'll keep you here a second. I just wanted to ask our colleagues from Ecosphere and from Wildlife Works a couple questions about your role and what do you think are the key challenges for setting up projects like this. This again, we are talking about interventions on the ground that contribute to nature and people and then generate climate mitigation outcomes. This is the natural climate solutions definition. So maybe I start with Anna Lehmann from Wildlife Works. You can come next to me, Anna.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Well done for hanging out so long. Right. So, those of us who've been in the carbon market for a long time, we all know that this market has a trust and transparency issue. And it is an opaque market, and opaque markets run the risk of being extremely unequitable. And, I think in this space, really what makes a difference is that project developers do not take advantage. Opaque markets cause arbitrage effects that benefit those in power, those with more knowledge. That could be governments, it could be the private sector, those developers. And so really at the core of every activity, of every planning of an investment partnership, really, this is how we see this. The communities for us are strategic partners who hold the keys to living in harmony with nature, to guarding the forests. This is what they bring to the table. This is what we can learn from them. And building strategic partnerships also means you treat your partners with full respect. You provide them full information and transparency from the very beginning. They're part of the design process. They go through full and comprehensive FPIC processes. They have the right to say no. And they're being built into the whole sort of project structure from start to finish with a fair share of the revenue, and also making sure that they, benefit from that, also from the market upside. If prices go up, they will also benefit from that. We have not seen this in the past. The carbon market first time round. There were developers that just took advantage of communities not knowing exactly how the carbon market works. It's an incredibly complicated market. It's very hard to explain. We take a lot of effort in some of our communities in Colombia. I was told there's 8 languages being spoken. So we're training trainers in 8 languages. We're developing material to explain something as complicated as a baseline in all those 8 languages, because it's important that everybody in the community understands what this deal is about, because it will only work if it works over generations. And it will only work over generation if the story is being understood and if it works. So FPIC for us is not, you know, a one-time process that you start at the beginning of a project. It's a relationship. It's a relationship over the lifetime of the project, and it doesn't stop. You come back every year with the verification, and you reassert, you reconfirm the commitment that we have made as developers, and we look for the reconfirmation also from our strategic partners on their side. If things have to be renegotiated, then that happens, and that's part of the process. So radical transparency from start to finish, and full participation, and respectful treatment along the whole project. That's how we operate, and this is how we like to encourage this market to grow. This is what we also encourage governments we work with to establish. We're working with governments proactively promoting guidelines. The trouble is that lots of countries do not have clear guidelines on how project developers should develop projects. Not all countries have FPIC guidelines. Not all countries check the credibility of some of the developers. They just register projects because somebody put, a name in front of them. So governments have a responsibility here to do a due diligence process and to really administer quality in their landscapes. And that's something that we proactively try to inspire together with our indigenous partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. So now, Daniel from Ecosphere. Also, in few words, what are the key ingredients for a successful relationship between the project developer and the community?
Awesome, thank you very much. And first of all, thank you so much. It's amazing to share the stage. Thank you very much for getting us all here, learning from all these amazing projects. And we're here with ADER, our partner, and it's been an amazing week being able to sort of showcase local indigenous communities, the knowledge they have to impart. And I think that is, I'm going to repeat quite a lot, but I think it's so important to really hammer that home, that actually these projects can't be done with just one stakeholder. They have to involve every stakeholder, all the local indigenous communities at every point, and not just in those initial consultations 10 years ago. They have to be every single year. They have to continue on through. Everyone has to be involved in those decision-making processes from, like Anna said, throughout the process. So I think when that happens, and I think it's testament to see how amazing these projects work. And actually, there's no one shoe fits all for natural climate solution projects. But what they do all do is they implement amazing benefit share agreements. They all do an FPIC. They do all have strong consultations, and that is what they do share. So it's amazing that they have that. And like I say, no one shoe fits all. So, each project has to involve those people who live there, because without them, there is no project. So ultimately, that's kind of I think, one of the most important parts, really. I know, I'll keep it short, don't worry. In terms of, we like to work with, again, trust and transparency. It's kind of thrown around quite a lot as words you have to say, but it's so important. And actually, without trust and without transparency, projects will fail. They might succeed for 1, 2, maybe 3 years, but they won't actually create any kind of change, long-lasting generational change, without that transparency and trust. And you see it the world over. If people don't talk to each other, it just simply does not work. So it's amazing, to have ADER here with us, and we can spend a week with them, and like I say, have that transparency with each other, have that trust with each other, and it's, I think these projects are sort of testament to how that can work. And I think in terms of sort of businesses coming into the voluntary carbon market, again, it was touched upon, but I think we can very quickly and easily see, within the carbon market, we're kind of in a bit of an echo chamber sometimes, and forget how confusing it is, how complex it is, and actually, a lot of businesses and corporations coming in, they need to be guided through that complexity. And I think top 3 things I'd say really when you're kind of coming into the space are, one is, well, first of all, don't wait to take action. Insufficient, incremental change is no longer sufficient anymore. You can't really be done. I was in the UNEP emissions gap report a couple of days ago, and current policies take us to 2.8 degrees by 2050, and you don't need me to tell you that's not a good thing. But Solutions Day, it's amazing that there are now solutions that there are there, and businesses can take action. They can take action now with projects such as these 4 amazing projects, and more in the lighthouses as well. And that kind of takes me to the second message. Look at that mitigation hierarchy. Reduce your emissions internally as much as you can, in tandem or in parallel. Have that kind of robust offset strategy with high quality, high integrity carbon projects that like has been mentioned, integrate indigenous local communities, integrate all the decision-making processes across the entire value chain, because they will work. And again, not just don't just look for the FPIC. I mean, obviously look for the FPIC, but keep looking. Does it continue? Is the decision making just one person, or is it going to be across the local indigenous communities, and also is it both men and women? All these are so important to have to take into consideration when you're choosing those projects, but also ask the hard questions. Ask questions about additionality, leakage, quantification. These hard questions are hard for a reason, and a good high quality project won't struggle to answer them because they should be doing it. So I think that kind of touches on everything, and also ROI shouldn't be just financial anymore. It needs to go beyond just carbon. Stop looking for just carbon. Actually the societal change, biodiversity, ecosystems, this is all return. So don't just go in for the carbon projects. Look for the carbon projects that have co-benefits, because they're the ones that we need to be investing in. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Great way to summarize this. Exactly. This, the nature and people are not co-benefits. Nature and people are the pillars of the solutions. You spoke a lot at the end about integrity and carbon integrity. So I see here in the audience Pedro Barata, member of the Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Markets. Come here and give us really short, not the long version, but the short version about ICVCM, long acronym, and how what is the expectation from this body in terms of helping us be sure that every carbon credit that will be issued is of a high integrity from a carbon accounting perspective.
Thank you, Julia. And before I go into the specifics of the Integrity Council, let me say I've been here for 2 weeks, and wherever in other market would you get to talk to CEOs of beverage companies in the United States, finance executives from large banks, community developers and organizers from the Amazon or Africa, project developers from all over the world, really. And having all of these conversations and seeing the commonality of interest. Anna was speaking about the past practices, and we've seen in the last 20 years we've been in this market a lot of discussion about the lack of integrity of carbon credits, and some really bad practices that we are all aware of, and that taint the market with this notion that, as in the consultation that I had with indigenous peoples, what they called the carbon cowboys, the people who come over and negotiate on strange deals, and we've discussed here as well. Well, we need to move the market away from those practices, from that lack of transparency, and to gain trust of everyone around, from the financiers to the executives, to most importantly, to the communities. That is about having high integrity along several criteria. Obviously, the fundamental ones of carbon integrity, additionality, permanence, etc. But we cannot stick to a narrative of only looking at the carbon integrity of a credit. We have to look at the overall environmental integrity and the social integrity. That includes respect for the communities, respect for the stakeholders that are engaged in this. To the Integrity Council, what we're trying to do is establish a threshold standard that will allow good practice to be recognized in the market. And that threshold standard will cut across all of these different criteria that I mentioned: additionality, permanence, environmental, social safeguards, double counting, validation and verification practices. We're working hard at this for several long, hard months. And on current plans, we're hoping to get all of our framework published by March or first quarter of 2023. Following which, when the board approves what we are doing, we will then go to a process of certifying different types of credits from different project types and from different carbon standards that come to us to gain our, if you want, our label, our CCP label. The hope is that with this CCP label, we can start doing the fundamental work of separating out the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad practice, and over time increase the trust and the transparency so that we are all listening to more and more of these stories and not listening or not hearing about some of the horror stories in the old practices. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you very much, Pedro. This is a great way to say exactly. We want more of these stories, more and more. And actually our commitment from NCSA perspective is to bring to you more and more of these stories in the next, editions of COP, and just keep, watching us through the website, because we are committed to showcase good stories for nature, people, and climate. So to conclude, I would like to invite Paulina from the BCG. Paulina is a member also of the SteerCo of the Natural Climate Solution Alliance. So who better than you to close this session? And then after this, we're going to have a chance to actually celebrate together with some drinks.
Very good. So let's maybe think about what we're going to toast towards in a little bit. So first, I think this COP and the last 2 weeks, this session have just reinforced the importance of nature and really having to protect, manage, restore all of those ecosystems. So for me, there's no doubt that we need to increase the demand and the financing for high quality natural climate solutions. And yes, it's not about carbon, it's also about people, and it's about nature. 2, we really need to scale best practices, and there are great organizations that are helping to do that. So more than anything, I want to thank what the Integrity Council is doing. I want to thank what the BCMI is doing. I want to thank Julia and everyone else here for the work that either the projects or the Natural Climate Solutions Alliance are doing, because we need to document those lessons, we need to standardize things, and we really need to make it accessible to many more. And finally, just a wish. I hope that we don't slow down. I hope that despite us being tired sometimes and sometimes disappointed, and there's going to be tremendous uncertainty in the world next year, we can't slow down, we can't give up, precisely because we need nature. And so I just hope that we can continue with the work, and I thank all of you for being here today and for the good work that you'll do ahead.
Thank you very much, Paulina. Thank you, and thank you so much for your support to the NCS Alliance as a board member and also as a SteerCo members, and also for the work you're doing. So, thank you. I would like to thank one by one our amazing lighthouses, reminding you that you can download their stories from the website. So each of them has a story, and then we have many more. So you can read the description. There are also the links for their full projects, so you can get in touch. But then a round of applause to our amazing, oh, sorry, I have too many. So, Diana, Marioldi, Wangi, JR, and Francis. Thank you so much, because these are the solutions we all need to make a better place, a better world, and for nature to thrive. So thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. This is the last session of this pavilion, so really great for sticking around. And now we are going to have drinks, and please reach out and have more personal conversations. Thank you.